Chapter 31. As June rushes in and the weather goes through its changes, so do I, in more ways than one. With less than a month until my due date, I am doing better emotionally and eagerly anticipating the birth of my son. Jessica and Adagio are as excited as well. They help me decorate the nursery and get everything ready. They shop with me for baby furniture and accessories, making sure I have everything I need. Adagio even assembles the crib and rocker, and I am grateful I don't have to tackle the job. I am not handy with tools in the least, and probably would have put everything together backwards. My heart is full of gratitude for these two amazing people. Jessica has truly been a mother to me, showing me all the love and support I could ever need. Sometimes I muse that I was probably sent to the wrong family and should have been hers, but deep down I know it isn't true. I needed to go through the trials I'd been given, and Jessica is in my life now. I often think back on the day I met her at the motivational seminar and the instant friendship that had formed between us. At the time, I could never have guessed how much meeting her would affect my future. I don't know where I would be without her. Then there is Adagio. He is my lifeline, and there is nothing he doesn't or won't do for me. Even though he lives downtown, he always manages to be here and see to my every need, and I never have to ask for anything. He gives so much of his time and sacrifices so much of himself. He has helped me to know I am not alone, that I will never be alone. He is an amazing friend, and I thank God every day for sending him right when I needed him. We are now connected in a way that can't be defined. My thoughts never stray far from Ingo, but the memories are not as painful, and the bittersweet moments have lessened. I still miss him, and I know a part of me always will. He taught me so much about life and love. He also helped me to grow and become the kind of person I've always wanted to be. I will forever treasure his love as well as my memories of him and our life together. It has been hard, but I have been able to go on after all. Adagio. Adagio observes the changes in Cicely, and as happy as he is about the strength she has gained, there are also changes that have taken place in his own heart, changes he never expected to experience, and they have happened slowly. Adagio spends more and more time with Cicely and longs to be with her whenever he is away. He thinks of her constantly and even tried staying away a couple of times just to see if these feelings would leave him if he didn't spend so much time around her, but he couldn't go a whole day before giving in to his need to be near her. Every moment he is in her home, Adagio watches Cicely's every move. He takes in her every expression and wonders what she is thinking at that particular moment. When she leaves the room, he counts the minutes until she returns, and when she does, his heart always skips a beat. Just a look from her or the feel of her hand in his sends a warmth through him that is almost overwhelming at times. He now craves her touch, and just holding her is no longer enough. He loves feeling her softness against him, loves the fragrance that radiates from her hair when he presses his face into it. He has grown accustomed to the way her body fits against his side, and his arms often feel empty when she isn't in them. He loves the way her eyes sparkle whenever he comes through the door, and the silkiness of her voice when she says his name. It is like a caress, so warm, so familiar. Being with her is like coming home. He has never felt anything like this before. It is a need that both thrills and scares him. He remembers the moment he truly accepted that things had changed. It is a moment he will never forget. And because of it, his world is no longer the same. 1 week ago, Adagio looked for Cicely to tell her lunch was ready. Approaching the doorway of the living room, he found her standing in front of the large window, staring out at the city. She was wearing a knee-length, form-fitting yellow sundress. The silky material hugged the curve of her abdomen, the color of the outfit enhancing the tone of her beautiful brown skin perfectly. Her hair, which had grown even longer during her pregnancy, was swept up away from her face and hung down her back in loose curls. Barefoot, her toes donned red nail polish. He memorized her every detail, and hard as he tried, he couldn't pull his eyes away. Gazing at her profile, he was unable to move, like some unseen force was keeping him bound to that spot. "She's so beautiful," he breathed inwardly. "Oh, Angel, you're so beautiful." And at that moment, he wanted nothing more than to take her in his arms, kiss her irresistible mouth, and never let her go. He couldn't believe the thoughts that were swirling in his head or the intensity of his feelings. He had felt the emotional changes for a while now and had fought them as best he could, but in that moment, he was overwhelmed. Suddenly, the words from a ballad playing softly in the living room leaped from the speakers, echoing through his mind. "You smile at me, and my heart is no longer empty. You touch me, and everything becomes clear. As long as you're near me, I'll never be alone. In your arms, I've found my home." The lyrics pierced Adagio's heart, stirring his emotions so he found it hard to breathe. He continued to gaze at her as a terrible longing filled him, making him oblivious to everything but her presence. The emotional pull was more powerful than anything he had ever felt in his life. Oh, how he wanted her for his own at that moment. How he needed her. Adagio didn't know how long he'd been watching Cicely and didn't realize he was holding his breath until she turned and smiled at him. He released it slowly as her eyes held his. "Oh, Amore, can you not see what you are doing to my heart?" Cicely had suffered and endured much in her life, and now here she was, smiling at him, a new light present in her beautiful eyes, her very gaze intoxicating him. "Lunch is ready." Jessica's voice startled him, and heat rose to his face. "That is what I came to tell you," he said to Cicely after finding his voice. He wondered how long Jessica had been there. When he glanced at her, she gave him a knowing smile and headed back to the kitchen. "Are you coming?" Cicely asked, brushing by him and giving him a smile that again made his heartbeat skip. "Yes, I will be in right after I make a phone call." It was just an excuse, and he knew it. Watching her walk away, he closed his eyes as guilt quickly assaulted him. He headed upstairs to the guest room that was his whenever he visited. Sitting on the edge of the bed, he dropped his head in his hands. "What am I doing? I'm losing it. That's what I'm doing. She was my best friend's wife." The feeling of betrayal was brutal. How in the world had he allowed himself to fall in love with his best friend's wife? Yes, Ingle was gone, but still. He rubbed a hand over his face, tugging it back through his hair, and closed his eyes. "I don't know how this happened. I didn't plan it, but I can't help it. What should I do? What should I do?" Even now, as he stands in front of his living room window looking out across downtown, Adagio still ponders the question, and he is no closer to an answer than he was on that day. That he loves Cicely is without question. He couldn't deny it if he tried. He just doesn't know if it is right to act on it, and he can't be certain Cicely feels anything other than friendship for him. He had caught something in her eyes that day when she looked at him, and he had sensed a change in her as well, but he doesn't know if any of it is real or just wishful thinking on his part. Being near her affects him in ways he can't begin to describe, and at times the longing is physically painful. Even now he aches to be with her, to hold her, to touch her, to claim her as his own. But in his mind, she is still off limits, and he is afraid. He is afraid to cross the line that has always been there. Maybe after a little more time has passed, he will consider it. Maybe. For now, he will leave things as they are. It will be safer this way, and so will his heart. Chapter 32. Jessica washes the last of the breakfast dishes and hands them to me. I dry them and place them in the cupboard, then wipe off the kitchen table, humming softly. "You must be feeling pretty good this morning," Jessica says. "I do feel pretty good, actually," I reply, looking up. When Jessica smiles, I notice something I haven't seen in a long while. The twinkle is back in her eyes. "You must be feeling pretty good yourself today," I say, returning my attention to the table. "I am." "So, did Adagio happen to mention when he will be over today?" "No, but I never expect him until 10 or so." Trying to ignore the way my heartbeat skips at the mention of Adagio's name, a smile curves my lips before I can stop it. Having finished, I look up, and Jessica is staring at me, and that familiar twinkle is definitely there. "What?" "Oh, nothing. It's just that you smile whenever Adagio's name comes up these days." "He's my friend. Of course I smile." My attempt to sound casual belies what I feel inside. "You don't smile like that when the names of other friends are mentioned, just Adagio's." Startled by her comment, my mouth opens in automatic response, but there is nothing. My brain clocks out on me. "Cicely, it's okay." "What's okay?" "Don't go there, Jessica." She sighs. "It's okay to care for Adagio." "I know it's okay. He's my best friend and I do care about him very much." "Please don't go there, Jessica." "You know what I mean, Cicely. It's okay to care for him in other ways." I really do not want to have this discussion because it is a truth that I am not ready to face. Though I have felt the stirrings in my heart for a while now, I have fought them every step of the way, but they have only become stronger. I try to blame it on loneliness, but in my heart, I know it isn't true, and I feel all the more guilty. I don't want to think about Adagio, but to my dismay, sometimes, all right, most of the time, I cannot think of anything else but him. It has only been 3 months since Ingo died, but his best friend consumes my thoughts more and more, and I can't seem to stop it. I look forward to seeing Adagio every day, and when he is here, just being near him brings butterflies to my stomach. I have even begun to dream about him. Sometimes the dreams are so vivid and real, I can barely breathe around him. Even now, thinking about him calls forth a familiar warmth, and I again experience that tangible ache, but I cannot go there. I won't let myself. "He was my husband's best friend," I finally say. "It would be wrong." "And just what makes you think that?" Jessica dries her hands and takes a seat at the table across from me. "I want you to listen to me, Cicely. No, I've never had the opportunity to marry, but I do know a little something about life and love, and the one thing I know for sure is that man cares for you more than he will admit. He's in love with you, Cicely. I have watched him fall in love with you. It's in his eyes every time he looks at you, and in his voice when he talks to you. There are times that I have caught him watching you with eyes so full of longing, I almost weep. He wears his heart on his sleeve. He tries to hide his feelings, but I can see them. I can tell you have feelings for him too, and I think those feelings are deeper than you realize." Guiltily, I look away, pushing my ever-intruding feelings aside. I can't do this now. He's been very good to me, but all we could ever be is friends. Jessica makes a contemplative noise and is thoughtful for a moment. "You know, I knew you and Ingo were meant to be together when I introduced you two. And that night, after you went to bed, he told me he knew as well. What? You both felt that? Yes, we did. And neither of us knew the future any more than we knew he would be taken away so quickly. But I did know you and Ingo would eventually be married. Now, I'm sure when Adagio met Ingo in Italy, he didn't know how their meeting would affect one another. But there is a reason for everything. We are all given gifts and blessings in this life, and sometimes we don't realize what they are until they are staring us right in the face, and even then they are sometimes easy to miss. Contemplating her words, I realize how right she is. I've been told by a few people, yourself included, that there are many gifts and blessings in store for me in the future. A couple of days before Ingo died, he told me that as well. It was almost like he knew something I didn't. We talked about our baby being one of those gifts. I blink back the tears that come with the memory. You know, sometimes during quiet moments when I'm feeling a little down, Ingo's words suddenly come from nowhere, like he knows what I'm feeling and is right there beside me. I don't bother commenting about the guilt I experience at those times as well. Really? Yes. Many times I have felt him comforting me, but now that I think about it, I haven't felt that in a while. Jessica slowly smiles. Maybe because you no longer need it. You may not want to hear this, but I think you and Adagio really need each other. Closing my eyes, I shake my head. What are you saying, Jessica? What do you think I'm saying? I don't know. She looks at me skeptically. Truthfully, I do know what she means. I just don't want to say it. I can't allow the words to pass my lips. Well, Jessica prods softly, meeting my eyes. Tell me you haven't thought about it. Can you honestly tell me it hasn't crossed your mind? If I answer her truthfully, I will have to admit what my heart has fought against for a while now. Deep down, I know there's truth to Jessica's unspoken words. I can feel it even now, but I can't admit it. Adagio has been a tremendous comfort to me during the past months, and the most devoted friend I could ever ask for. But he has also become more important to me than I dare say. Cicely, Jessica says, interrupting my thoughts, almost reading them. You still have a very long life ahead of you, too long a life to spend alone, and I don't think Ingo would want that for you. You aren't meant to be alone. I know it has only been a short while since Ingo died, and you need to do what is best for you. But you also need to remember time is irrelevant when the feelings are there. You thought you could never be happy again, that you would never find love again, but it's right in front of you, Cicely. You are being given a second chance. But what if I don't want a second chance? I blurt out. What if, Jessica, what if I took it and ended up loving Adagio more? What if you do grow to love him more? Is that so wrong? She sighs. Cicely, I love my nephew more than I could ever tell you, and I'm grateful for the happiness you brought to him. But he is gone now, and your life is still going on. Don't turn your back on this chance because of fear. If you search your heart, you will see that I am right. Rubbing my temples, I take a moment to digest what Jessica is saying. I am so torn and confused and riddled. I've been fighting this so hard, I am almost afraid to stop, because if I do, I will completely lose my heart. Truthfully, I already have, but I don't know if I'm ready for the next step, whatever it might be. We talk for a few minutes more, or rather Jessica talks and I listen. She looks at her watch. I'm going to go up and get ready, but if you need to talk some more, I can go in a little later. I shake my head, my mind going in 1,000 different directions. You have given me a lot to think about. Thank you. You're welcome, dear. Anytime. Transferring a load of laundry to the dryer, I put another batch in the washer. Adagio is late. and I am glad. I need time to adjust my thoughts and get a handle on my feelings. He is not called, and I am glad for this as well, because right now, even hearing his voice would be too much. The whole conversation with Jessica has left me unsettled and confused. Stretching, I rub the dull ache in my back and stomach. I climb the stairs to my room and spend some time on my knees praying and pondering what I should do about my feelings for Adagio. I can't help thinking it is somehow wrong for me to care for him romantically, or anyone else for that matter. But each time I try to come up with excuses, Jessica's words re enter my mind and hammer away at my heart. After an hour, I am still confused and don't know what to do about it. I finally head back downstairs. Standing in front of the large living room window, I gaze out over the city. It is one of my favorite pastimes because the view is so pretty and it's easy to think there, which is something I have been doing a lot of lately. Focusing on a small group of pigeons congregating on the front lawn, I try to clear my mind in the hope of gaining some clarity, but almost immediately thoughts of Adagio rush in with such force I don't try to fight them this time. I do not have the strength to anymore. I have studied him so much. When he isn't looking, his face and features are etched in my memory. Without a doubt, he is a very beautiful man, both inside and out. Taking a long moment, I allow my thoughts to run free. Heat slowly fills me as I think of the warmth of his muscular embrace. I have begun to crave his arms around me. Whenever he is near, I fight the urge to run my fingers through that dark, wavy hair of his. It looks perfectly tousled and neat at the same time. He is definitely male model material, and that he is so oblivious to it makes him even more beautiful. There's nothing shallow about him, and no matter how many women gawk at him when we are out and about, his attention is always centered on me. There is a soothing tone to his heavily accented voice, and I especially love hearing him call me Angel. I love the scent of his cologne, the way it mixes with his body chemistry. He smells so good. I want to curl up into him sometimes and never move. The deep dimples that appear on his cheeks when he smiles makes me long to reach out and touch his face. And when he looks at me with those emerald eyes, it's as if he can see through my very soul, and I long to lose myself in his gaze. Closing my own eyes, I see his mouth. His lips are full and look as if they are begging to be kissed. Thinking about them now makes my mouth suddenly ache with longing for the touch of his. Everything about him is familiar to me now. The warmth of his smile, the openness of his gaze. I love the way his handsome brow furrows when he is deep in thought, the way he pushes a hand through his hair and stands with a look of puzzlement on his face when he is looking for something he has misplaced, then mumbles in Italian while he searches. Everything about him is alluring. He has a magnetism that emanates and stirs my entire being. My emotions go into overload when he is near. Sometimes all he has to do is look at me, and I have to leave the room to calm my racing heart. I wonder if he has any idea how his mere presence affects me. I can't believe how much I have come to care for him. Each and every day, my mind reasons that it should not be this way, that it isn't right for me to feel this way so soon, if ever. But to my heart, it is almost natural, and that alone is confusing. He was my husband's best friend, for heaven's sake. How can this be happening? How have I allowed my emotions to go this far? Deep down, I know the answer to these questions. It is because Adagio has been here. He has always been here. How can I not have feelings for him? It should all feel so wrong, but it doesn't. Pressing my forehead against the window, I continue to ponder my feelings when a strong recollection dawns on me. Turning toward the doorway of the living room, my mind shoots back to the day Adagio stood staring at me while I was in this very spot. I did not allow myself to admit it then, but the look in his eyes stirred me so it nearly took my breath away. Not until Jessica approached was I able to pull my eyes away from his, and even then I still felt his gaze on me. I had tried to tell myself the way he looked at me had not meant anything, that what I saw in his eyes was... I can't even think of an excuse, because I know what I saw in his eyes that day. They held a look of longing, a look of, wow, Jessica was right. It really had been there the entire time, clearly exposed for the world to see. My resistance fading, I allow my heart to open, tears stinging my eyes as another simple truth dawns on me. And that truth is, I had felt the same emotions I saw in his eyes that day, and I have every day since. I do love him. Pressing my face in my hands, I sigh deeply, finally accepting what my heart has been trying to tell me. I cannot believe this is happening to me. Oh, Ingo, I whisper brokenly. I'm in love with him. I didn't mean for this to happen. I tried not to love him, but I can't help it. Now what do I do? Where do I go from here? Standing a while longer, contemplating my feelings, my breath catches. Like a movie screen appearing before my eyes, I see the dream I had before leaving North Carolina. The memory of the little boy's words bring a startling realization to light. This is what you meant, isn't it? As a rich warmth fills my entire being, I know it is true. There is no doubt in my mind, and I am amazed. My attempt to close myself to love has all been futile. I can no longer deny what I feel, nor will I try. And now that I have finally accepted my love for Adagio, I can only hope he truly shares my feelings. This whole thing scares me to death, and I don't think my heart can handle being alone in this. Adagio. Adagio's step is a little lighter as he exits his apartment. It is well past noon, and he is late going to Cicely's, but it couldn't be helped. He had needed this time away from her. He had spent most of the morning, as well as last night, going over his feelings. He has tried for weeks to fight them, but he can't anymore because it has become impossible. He is deeply in love with Cicely. He loves her like he never thought he would be able to love anyone. It is a desperate kind of love that he had heard others talk about but had never experienced himself. Adagio knows Cicely will always love Ingo, and a part of her will miss him, but surely she can make room in her heart for someone else, that someone being himself. Surely he has a chance. What he feels for her completely fills the emptiness in him. He will forever think of Ingo and treasure the friendship they shared, but he knows Ingo would never deny him this chance at happiness. Warmth flows over him, through him, validating that his love for Cicely is right. It came to him only moments ago that Cicely is the gift his mother had spoken of. Even as he ponders it now, the warmth only increases, again telling him this is the way things are meant to be. He needs to tell Cicely how he feels, and he hopes that wherever Ingo is, he really understands. Somewhere in his heart, Adagio is sure he does, and maybe even wants this.